the hook of Holland. We're stood here at my friend's place. Inside there is one of the best collections of marine antiques and steam engine equipment in the world. We're negotiating on a lot of it, but it's going to take a while to secure the deal, I've got to say. I'll show you in a minute a few of the bits that we have bought, including Find of the Month. We've started out here, the security, you can hear the security geese in the background. I'm going to try and buy this later, this enormous jar. It's one of my favourite things. Come inside the shed. My son's with me, Ross, he's the cameraman today. I love the smell of old ships. Have a quick look around, scan around, Ross. This is just the bottom floor. There's 3 floors, 2 buildings. That bronze chain, show them that bronze chain, Ross. This is rarest rocking horse ship, and you know, we're desperate to try and buy them because that's the sort of stuff that's become really, really rare now. I'm a big sucker for minesweeper fittings. The bronze chain's awesome. We'll do this very quickly. I could talk for an hour about what's in here and that still wouldn't be enough. Probably the world's best collection of steam whistles and sirens and horns. Set of 4 Carlenbergs. I've heard them go, you wouldn't believe what they sound like. I want to try and buy them, but they're going to be very difficult. You can see there, over there, that those steam engines, some of the rarest expansion steam engines in the world. They're not really anything I know about, so as much as I'd love to buy them, the money involved in them scares the life out of me, but I'm going to help my friend find the right customer for those. What is our sort of cup of tea? Obviously, as you guys know, are big searchlights and lights and fittings. We have bought, and this is probably the find of the month so far, find of the week, these incredible American-made 40s, 50s signal searchlights. And typically, when I say typically, Fast, my friend, only bought the best. So if he found something really rare and exquisite, he'd leave it unless it was the very best example. These are my favourite searchlights. I've only ever had one in my history. And the reason they're my favourite is because the Americans made these searchlights with this incredible iris system, just like a massive 20-inch camera shutter. How cool is that? Perfect, brand new condition, out of the box. If you back up, Ross, I'll show you guys another thing that I want to buy that I probably can't. Turn around, Ross, go. This diagonal exhibition model engine, training engine. Zoom in, Ross, on the, just start with those little gauges there. How exquisite, how beautiful they are. As much effort, time and energy and skill goes into making the model as it did the real big thing. Obviously that in real life size is enormous. Stay there, Ross, and we'll get it going. How awesome is that? In between floors now, we're on the, I don't know what floor to call this, but there's something really cool at the end of here. A few things actually that I've got to try and buy because I'll never find them ever again. Come here, Ross, mind your head when you come down here. There's about 25 of these gorgeous Tilly lamps in box fresh condition. I'm going to try and own those, but that's not why I'm bringing you down here. Right, Ross, do not fall off this edge. Can you get the front, what it says on that box, and I'll open it up. You used to read that? So, I've only ever seen one of these in the world. It's a complete set of shipwright tools from the Royal Navy, World War II. And in there is everything you need, everything a shipwright needs to keep up the running repairs of a ship. It's still in its grease-proof wrapping. Grease-proof wrapping. The whole kit is complete. Never touched, never used. straight out of, well, it's like a time machine, time warp. And it's harder to value. My friend values it very, very highly, of course, because he can say, go and find another one, and I couldn't. But that's beyond decor. That's got to be bought by a traditional boat restoration building company. And not only are these two gorgeous this is the other star of the show on this floor, is these ship's wheels. Lovely, a pair of 6-foot wheels, but I've never seen a Brown Brothers, a famous shipbuilding engineering company. I've never seen a 6-foot Brown Brothers wheel before. So that, I think, that's worth £2,000 to £3,000. But my friend knows it. So whether I can buy it at a sort of price where I can make any money out of it, that's another question. That's going to take this afternoon's meeting to sort that out. There's all sorts of bits and bobs on this floor. Some of it's rust, some of it isn't, but these 3 items in particular we're going to go all guns blazing for. Right, let's go upstairs. So we're upstairs where most of the treasure is. And this is my 3rd visit to this room, so I've done a combined 12, 14 hours of inspection in here, and I'm turned over every stone. So I'm pretty confident what I want to buy. I'm going to spend the rest of the day today negotiating. Ross, I'll give you a quick round to show you some of the highlights of what's in this room. But there's too much to see, so we'll do it really quickly, okay? Ross, if you follow me, don't fall down that hole for the 10th time. Thank you very much. Ross, come over here, don't trip on that thing. Okay, so starting here, these are obviously us. These are Trinity House beacons. They came from us originally 25 years ago when we bought all the beacons out of Trinity House as it went from gas to solar. These are, that's a lovely mint one. It's sacrilege to do it, but we have to do it in order to make them look gorgeous and sellable. We have to strip them and reveal their bronze, brass, copper. Those, most of you have seen those already. Those are the most sellable ones, but these are my favorite because those are the rarest ones of all. Not the most glamorous, but those come off the top of lighthouses, so that's the helipad ones. This one's a plexiglass, the surround glass, which isn't as good as the triangles, but this one has the Darlin sun valve on it, which is extremely rare. Just bang my head. So that makes that. That absolutely makes that. So we definitely want those. In fact, I bought those over during a conversation at dinner last night. Ross, follow me quickly. We'll have a quick whip round, give you guys an idea of what's in here. Fire extinguishers, a massive collection of fire extinguishers. They're not us, I don't understand them, but they're still lovely in their own right. Ship's lamps, that's obviously us. As with everything in Fastball, it was all, not only did he source lovely stuff with great provenance, but he spent hours and hours and hours picking the very best. So all of those are in excellent condition. There's some little bits and bobs in there, in the crates. That's what takes time, trying to find some treasure in bins that don't look like they've got them in. Interesting, lovely ladder, aluminium ladder. I bought that mainly because it came off a very cool ship. I'll tell you about that later. Ross, if you pan up there, you'll see probably the world's largest collection of chamber pots. There's one of them that I like because it's off the Union Castle. The rest of them are not for me, so I'll be leaving those. What else we got here that I want to buy? So, cannonball style test weights from the MOD. They came from us, again, 20 odd years ago. He bought them from my dad. There's loads of those. We can try and come to a deal on those. Beautiful bronze warship support there. Things like that turn me on. Again, not the most glamorous, but a hell of a hard to find thing that will make a project somewhere. And that can join the other 2 I've got in the yard that I've saved back. What looks like a lot of rusty stuff. There's some very rare steam and hydraulic equipment in there. And some of these pallets, that's a bit dark down there, but those are lovely. Earthenware jars from the MOD, 1950s, the Pusser's mark on them, water, rum, etc. I love that basket, but as much as I want to buy it, I feel it should stay in Holland because that is a hoistable quarry bucket from when they used to build the dikes 100 odd years ago. So that's extremely rare, but reluctantly I'm gonna have to leave that. It should stay in Holland. Another thing I bought over dinner last night was this gorgeous compendium from a famous ocean liner. Not a very nice chip on it, but we were talking about that over dinner last night. A few too many beers, I ended up paying too much for that, but again, it's a lovely thing to own and behold. Hundreds of gauges. I'm up to my neck in gauges at home, so I won't be buying those unless they're very, very cheap. And yeah, there's lots of boxes with captures. I'm opening boxes. Some of them haven't got something in very interesting at all. But then, of course, then you open a box and it's got a mint condition, absolutely complete Bar and Stroud 1950s rangefinder in it, which is lovely. So, in fact, there's a bit more around the corner there. So, Ross, we'll have to retrace our steps because we don't want to fall down that hole and fall to a certain death. So, stop the video there and we'll go.
Okay.
Right, so last bit of the tour. There is so much to see. We could never film it all, and I don't want to bore you with it anyway. But in these racks are fittings and fixtures, mainly to do with steam equipment. Most of it's not for me, but it's got to be saved. So if I'm not going to buy it, then I'm going to be damn sure that I'm going to help him find somebody that will buy it, because this stuff is never going to be made again, and it's got to be saved. I tell you, there is something around the corner, or a collection of things around the corner that I'm very, very keen on the subject of Minesweeper. Ross, if you just pan round there, you see all those fair leads, cleats, bollards, pulleys. They're all from Minesweepers. And if you keep going a bit further, you see those. If I point these out, mind your head, bud. Those bronze cleats are from US Minesweepers, and from all the minesweepers that were built in the 1950s to clear all the mines that were left over from the Second World War. Now, those were designed originally by Dodge, the owner of Dodge vehicles, who built his own private yacht in the 1930s. And he, not only did he build an absolutely beautiful ship, but he had a hand in designing all the fixtures and fittings that went on board, from the door handles to the catches, to the cleats, the fair leads, the bollards. And that was his design, Dodge vehicles. And the US Navy were so impressed by his private yacht that they incorporated his designs in all the 50s minesweepers that they did. So that's those cleats are a personal favourite. Big 14-inch cleats. There's about 4 or 5 9-inch cleats. All of these are solid 100-kilo bronze fittings, beautifully polished up when they're done. Again, they're not the easiest thing in the world to sell, but Christ, they are the finest deck fittings in the world. Some iron ones down there, which are just as cool. They'll be a fraction of the price of these. I'm gonna have to really do some hard negotiating trying to get those. And on these shelves, there's all sorts of little things that apply to me. So, there's some gorgeous light switches, again, which came from us. I'll show you one round here quickly. I found one. So I remember when my dad bought 400 of these out of the Royal Navy, these gorgeous switches. And I remember when Fuss came to see them, because he'd made a special trip to come and buy the light switches from our yard and have a look around as he normally does. So he brought a right-hand man with him. Very quick story that sums up everything about the man that we're dealing with here today. And we had 400 of these switches. We showed him the 400 switches, and he got his right-hand man to get them all out, and he told him to pick out the best 100 switches out of the 400. So the guy started work and I helped him. We lined them all out on the floor. And it was Fuss and my father went round and started to the tour of the yard, and they went away for an hour. After an hour, they came back. And Fuss said to the guy, right, well done for finding the best 100 switches. Now go through those 100 switches and find the best 20. And that's the sort of man that we're dealing with here today. And this is the sort of collection that we're dealing with here today. Up there, if you just pan up there, Ross, I won't take you up there now, but up there is a sea of gauges, gorgeous fittings and fixtures, and more Admiralty. He hasn't just got pulley blocks, he's got Admiralty pattern bronze wheel pulley blocks, my personal favourite, and the Rolls Royce of pulley blocks. So as you can see, and as you can imagine, and as you can hear from the tone of my voice, there's some very exciting once-in-a-lifetime stuff in here. And it's going to be a truckload of things, so, and a big bill at the end of it. So let's see how, oh, just quickly, there's cool things like this. I get excited about some of the most sort of innocuous looking things. These little little oilers, do you know, they're made in America. Do you know how I know they're made in America? Because the Americans made oilers like a pistol. How cool is that? Anyway, that's it for a minute. Let's keep hunting, Ross. Right, we're outside. There's a couple of areas outside. This is what I'm trawling through at the moment. At first glance, there's not really a lot here, but there is some treasure amongst all these bits and bobs. Follow me. Like our iron penters, like our deck fittings, bronze deck fittings, gauge thermometers. I've got hundreds of those, to be fair. This is just a little crate of what he's got, millions of traditional brass, bronze, iron, old school fittings, which you just can't find nowadays when you want them. So we'll be trying to buy those on a sort of kilo rate. Norwegian pattern foghorn, I haven't really tested this one yet. Let's see if that works. Right, well, that needs some love. It's pumping water, not making a noise. This pallet caught my eye. There's some Royal Navy fittings in there, some normal bulkheads, some damage. There's a lovely EP&S candlestick Royal Navy wardroom light there. But in there, these lights here, those I know are from the old ocean liner Normandy. So we've got to try and buy those. I mean, you'd think they'd be cheap the way they've been stored in here, but I know they're not. He's already sort of banded around some prices for what he wants for those, and to be honest, he really values them, but that's going to take a fair bit of effort later on to try and get those, but we've got to have them, you know. You'd only ever find one of those once a year in an auction somewhere, but there's 6 or 7 in there that are beautiful, and they're just one of the best provenances. Star of the show out here, Roscoe, is the bronze anchor. Anybody who's been following us recently knows that we love our minesweeper fittings. Solid bronze anchor. It's not as glamorous as the 550 kg AC-14 we've had recently, but it's US Navy, probably 60s, 70s, 300 kilos, and I've got a feeling with the chain inside, we've got a chance of owning that, so that's really lovely. And I've only just noticed when we came over here a minute ago, Ross, this torpedo gearbox and the rear end of a Royal Navy torpedo, we've got to own that because we love those. We polish them up and turn them into awesome sort of pieces of furniture. I'm going to try and get that cheap if I can, because it's going to take a lot of work to get it to where we need it to get. That's sharing a bin with these Royal Navy stanchions. They're only aluminium, but they're a sort of little favourite of mine too. I mean, the days have gone of us stripping warships where we'd get hundreds and hundreds at a time, so the 20 pieces in there are very useful. And if you whip round quickly here before we go inside again to have another look, I'll show you something I'm not allowed to buy, but totally explains the sort of man I'm dealing with here. One of the most passionate steam whistle and horn fanatics in the world. Look at that for a setup. He's got a Cockham's 375 horn, triple chime, a 14-inch chime whistle. I've heard this going, you know, he's got a special steam plant that does all this. He's hooked it up. He's the steam boiler king of Europe after all. And I couldn't convey, I couldn't even bother trying to describe what this sounds like. Hopefully in the near future we'll get him to hook it up and we'll do a video just around this unit alone, because these voices on this setup are incredible, especially when they're blown and fired under the correct sort of pressures and steam and atmospheres. and I just grin like an idiot just looking at this, and that, the memory of hearing these go. Again, horns and whistles, they're not just making a lovely noise, they are the voices of these famous old ships that are all gone. And to be honest, I've been trying to negotiate. He's got some in there in his warehouse, which I've got to try and own for my own personal collection, because they're so evocative of what's so special about these important ships.